In this section, we're now in 2-6, where we get to apply colors, borders, and some documentation. So we're going to actually change the text and fill color, apply a border to a cell, and add a header and footer to a worksheet. Things that you're already hopefully familiar with. And it does talk about a worksheet theme. So to get to themes, again, there is no design like there is in Word, but you just go to page layout and you can see the themes over there. And of course, header and footer is insert header and footer. So we want to select the range, in this particular case, A4 to A15. And we'll be choosing a fill color. Now, don't confuse fill color with the font color in there. So obviously, if you do that, when you submit it, it's going to mark it off. So we want to do the fill, which of course is on home. And here is our fill color right here. And this is the very last one that I used. So this is the correct one actually. But we want to do the blue-gray text to lighter 80, which is second row, fourth column. So second row, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is lighter 80. And remember, whatever you do will be the last one will show in here. So if you want to repeat it, then you can just click on it. If you want to change it, then you use the drop-down arrow in here. That was number 1. Number 2, we're going to do the borders arrow, and we're going to do a right border. So here we want a right border. We're not doing anything fancy, so we can just choose right border. That is number 2. Number 3 is we're going to change the font color to blue gray text color 2. That is the first row, fourth column. So 1, 2, 3, fourth. And that changes that. The new color, this will make the first column in here. Click the Insert tab, and we're going to do header and footer. So let's go to Insert, Header and Footer. And the default is to put something in the middle. Of course, if you want to put it on the left or the right, you can do that as well. In this particular case, it wants the sheet name. So here's the sheet name. The sheet name here is going to be Sheet 1. So let's click on the sheet name. And we're going to go to, I believe, the footer and put in your name, I believe. So let's click on the Go To Footer. And enter your name. And then we're going to click anywhere outside this, or you can click on the normal when you get done so you don't see everything. But you notice that when we went in here, notice it had sheet 1 and it had your name. So you're kind of in a different view. So now we're back to normal view. I'm pressing Control Home. And then it wants us to print it, but we're not actually going to print it. So let's go to File and Print, and you'll see a print view of what it looks like. So it won't actually print until you click over here. And if your sheet is too big to fit, you can click on Custom Scaling, and you can choose Fit on one page in here. I don't believe it says to do that, but that's the thing over here. Worksheet accessibility. It doesn't really tell you exactly how to do it, but and it's not part of what you have to do. But if you click on File and you go to Info, here is a thing where you can check for issues in here. So you inspect, check accessibility here, and you can see any kind of issues that you might have. So you can see we have some merged cells and default sheet names, which may be an issue for screen readers. So we don't need to worry about that right now. So now we are on 2.7 and we're applying conditional formatting. So that basically allows you to format the cells based on a specific condition, which is really, really a lot easier to do than it sounds. So I'm selecting the range I4 to I15. I drag down to do it. And we're going to put in data bars, which are going to be blue gradient. So it's really easy. So I'm going to go to conditional formatting, and I'm just going to choose data bars. We want grading fill, and I believe it wants blue. So notice that you can see the more you have, the bar is based upon the higher value in here. So if this is a lower value, then of course you can see that the data bar is not quite as big. That is number one. Number two, we're going to select, select G4 to G15. If you have a Mac, you will not get this, but not to worry. So it tells us to click the greater than button here. So we're going to click on the quick analysis and click on the greater button here. If you don't have that, this is the same thing as going to conditional formatting and clicking on highlight cell rules and choose greater than. So you can do it that way. Let's see what it wants us to put in. It wants us to do greater than 500. So I'm just typing in 500. Now don't type in a decimal, or rather the dollar sign. And we want to do a light red fill. So here's our light red fill. So we're not changing the text color. And I'll click on OK. So anything that is, I may have choose less than. So let me go and show you how to fix that. So I'm going to click on greater than, and in this particular case, I can delete this, or I can actually manage the rules here and edit it. So I'm just going to clear this particular rule, or I can choose manage rule. So I can click on clear rule and change it from highlight cells to less than, or I can click on manage rules, and in this particular case I'll just edit the rule, and instead of a greater than, I'm just going to change it to less than. So whatever way you want to do it. So now we have it looking good, and this is what it should look like here. And I may have missed a formatting to get rid of the decimal places. So I will probably go back and do this. So to get rid of the decimal places, I'm just going to click on these two here. Or I could have gone into number, and I could have gone into accounting and changed that to 0. So the reason why I said custom is because we had the conditional formatting. So this is why it's so important to constantly look. So if you miss something, you can see what you need to fix over here. And I noticed that I had decimal points, so I must have missed a step that with the decimal points. So now we're going to format data with an icon set and conditional formatting rules. Here it explains it. If I wanted to put an icon set in here, for instance, I could put one here, and I'm just going to click on conditional formatting, icon sets, and choose the one that I want, and you can see that it gives me this based upon specific conditions. We're not going to do that, but that's how you do that. It is explained how to do it, and it also explains how to fix and manage your rules. Number 2.8 is rename and move a worksheet. I don't like the way they have you move it. I will show you the way I do it. So I'm going to rename the worksheet. And it tells us to click sheet 2. And you can either double click, or you can right click and choose rename. And it wants us to name, sheet 2 commissions. Now remember, make sure you spell it correctly, because if you type in commissions or something else, then what's going to happen is it's going to mark you off. It'll say expected commission tab in there to be named in there. So then we want to change the tab color to blue accent 5, darker 25%, which is the 5th row, 2nd column from right. So 1, I believe it's this one. That's darker 25th. All right, so that takes care of this. Now, notice that it doesn't look like it really changed, and that's because it's the active one. So as soon as you click on sheet 1, you can see how that's changed. So now it wants us to rename this one to Boston Tech. And I don't see it saying anything about it. So it says click the commission tabs and hold the mouse and drag it to the right of sheet 3. So I can drag it to the right of sheet 3, or if I wanted to, I can right click and choose move, and then it'll say where should I. Notice that it says before sheet. So here, if I click on sheet 3, it'll do it actually before. So I'm going to click on move to end. You can drag it, whichever way you want to do it. Basically the same thing. So we're going to right click sheet 3 and delete it. Now, there's nothing in this sheet, so it's just going to delete it. However, if there's in the sheet, it's going to give you a warning message saying that you cannot undo it. So I highly recommend before you delete any sheet that you save your file first. So if something happens, you can go back and get it, especially if you delete the wrong sheet. Then it talks about adding worksheets. To add a worksheet, you can just click on this plus sign over here, and I believe you can right click and choose add, which is insert. All right, so now the last thing to do is check spelling. My first go around, I forgot to check spelling, and it nailed me for 9 points. So do not forget it. So I'm just going to hit the F7 key. If I didn't want to do that, I can go to review and spell over here. So I'm going to hit the F7 key. And do I want to continue? Yes, spell. So I think I need to do the Boston one. So I should read the instructions before I do it. So let's try F7 again. I'm going to click up top here. F7, and it found that commission is spelled wrong up here. So we'll change that. And we're going to click on support, change that. And then we're done. And let's see what it says. We did that, we did this, we did this. So now it wants us to find and replace contract and make it all temp. So I'm going to click up top here. And I'm going to go, Control H is a shortcut to do this. And notice that I've already done it, so that's why it's appearing. Or I can click, on the home and go to find and select and choose replace. So since I've already done it, the very last thing you do is going to stay in here. So I'm a big fan of clicking on find next, replace, so you don't change something that you not expecting to do. I'm going to click on replace all because it tells us to do that. And we've made 6 replacements, which we can see. Then I'm going to close that. And let's see, we did the replace all. Tells us to print. So let's go to file and print. And then it wants us to fit to one page. So you can see that all fits over here. We still have an issue here with the revenue rate not showing. So I may have missed a step. I'm going to look and see what the completed worksheet does. Okay, so the completed worksheet here obviously has it in here. So I'm going to double click here to make this row the same size as the largest value. So now we're good to go. And here is what it tells me it should look like. So we should be good with everything. And I'm going to save it and submit it, which I've already done. So this, I believe, is everything. So that is everything for the textbook project.